Spaceships and massive space battles were the focus of this year's Tennocon, Warframe's official yearly convention. The newest upcoming update, called Empyrean, will dramatically change Warframe, and not only does it come with spaceships, but it also features an entirely new game engine and gameplay. This includes a massive number of graphic overhauls and aims to bring Warframe into a new generation of graphical technology. The new engine then is a great introduction to an update that really does uplift Warframe to a very different level, not only in terms of graphics, but also in terms of what the game actually offers. Empyrean then is very much focused on spaceships. Players will be able to enter their ship and then seamlessly travel from mission to mission and location to location. Each player will be able to do this using a Railjack. That's Warframe's new pilottable spaceships. However, the Railjacks will be required to be unlocked at a clan level before you can access them. Summoning your ship is a great demonstration of the new graphics engine, highlighting various improved features such as shadows and metal rendering. Now, Railjacks are built from various technological components, so engines, shields and other tech are earned by exploring space. Anything that is earned is shared among the squad. Customization also extends to the modules that the ships use. These include things such as weapons, battle modules, tactical modules and system modules. It appears that there will be a large number of these, and players will be required to use them in a variety of combinations in order to best prepare their ship for specific missions and environments. Boarding Railjacks is very close to a seamless transition. Walking around, you jump in through the ship's boarding door and you find yourself inside of your ship. Of course, Railjacks have an AI, much in the same vein as the regular orbiter. Railjacks also have NPC crew members, which you can hire and fire, and these NPCs will perform various duties and functions on board your ship. Interestingly, the NPC crew can also be upgraded. The bridge of the Railjack is where players will pilot the ship from, and from here you can choose a location on a map that you wish to travel to. Whilst it's difficult to tell from just watching the video, it does appear that the ships have tangible mass and momentum to their movement, and anyone who has ever flown a spaceship in any game will know just how important this actually is. Now, when on missions, players will have different roles to perform, and these can be done via the various player-controlled crew stations on board the ships. So, for example, whilst one player may pilot the ship, another can control one of the weapons. Weapons feature turrets, and turrets have features such as counter-rotation, and this counteracts the ship motion, keeping the turret controlled natural and fluid. Now, meanwhile, a third player can also handle resource collection and allocation if they're more interested in things like that. All that said, players are not confined to the ship alone, and if they want to go out for some EVA experiences, they are free to do so. It was demonstrated here how players can seamlessly leave the ship or board from one ship to another, or head into space and then into another structure. Missions then can be very much cooperative in nature, with the team working together to achieve set goals. Digital Extremes were also keen to point out that even with some players inside another structure, the Railjack was still able to support the mission. Resources collected on these missions can then be used for upgrading all of the squad's respective Railjacks. Warframe, of course, has always been about building a relationship between the player and the game, and this has been done through many ways, and collecting and upgrading Warframes is prime among them. But there's also a narrative in the form of the many different missions that run throughout Warframe, and personally I've always greatly enjoyed these. However, they do suffer from the same problem that every story in many online games suffers from, and that is players all go through the same story. With Empyrean, there will be a new take on this, shaking things up a bit. Each player will have a personal nemesis, which will from time to time hound you and follow you throughout the game. Over time, this nemesis will gain in power and resources until eventually they will own their own capital ship. Now, this brings us very nicely onto ship-to-ship combat and how it's going to actually work, and it's actually visually very, very impressive, although again, we will have to wait until we get our hands on it to make a full judgment. Now, during combat, or during ship-to-ship combat rather, players are again free to go EVA and board the enemy ships, and also deal with boarding combat against the enemy. Players will be able to do this and then have the ability to capture enemy ships and then use those ships in combat. Equally, it would also be important for players to defend their own Railjacks against enemy boarding parties. Successfully defeating the enemy ships looks pretty spectacular. That said, it appears the enemy capital ships are on an entirely different level and require successful teamwork to take down. And this is where another new feature in Empyrean will come into play, and this is called Squad Link. Essentially, what this will allow is for squads from different instances or different play sessions from across the game to come together, join forces, and work together on a collective goal. Players will be able to place a beacon and then listen in for requests for help that are being broadcast across the solar system. Now, this isn't simply a case of players instantly teleporting into the new location to lend assistance. It seems, instead, Digital Extremes really do want to keep the integrity of the game world. So what will happen is that players will find they have an objective near their current location that is relevant to the squad that's calling for assistance. In the case of the example that was demonstrated, the enemy capital ship is being protected by a shield that is being projected from a ground base. The second squad then can attack this ground base shield generator, and we can see the shield beam here, and once the generator is disabled, this will considerably weaken the enemy capital ship. Effectively then, this is genuinely connecting the various areas of the game world together. Now, whilst Digital Extremes were keen to emphasise that capital ships can still be taken down with a single squad, they did state that it becomes vastly more efficient with multiple squads. Taking down the capital ship doesn't end here, however, and players will still need to weaken it from the inside. Again, this can still be supported from space. Empyrean then, all in all, looks like it will bring a huge amount of new content to Warframe, creating dramatically different styles of gameplay whilst still retaining existing gameplay. Just like with everything else with Warframe though, it really doesn't end there. A new cinematic shown at the end of the Empyrean demo gave a glimpse at something else. This is called the Javuri Paradox. It will contain a new narrative, though that won't be the main thing. The main thing will be that it features a new open world expansion. Meanwhile, Empyrean will also look to improve the new player experience with a pretty hefty overhaul. More on all of this in another video. That then brings us to an end of this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.